The rain pounded hard on the roof of Maggie's diner, a small roadside stop nestled between I-90 and miles of empty fields in South Dakota. The sign outside flickered in the storm, and the smell of strong coffee and grilled bacon filled the warm air inside. For Emily Grant, the 28-year-old waitress with tired eyes and a worn-out smile, it was just another long shift. Her hair was tied in a messy ponytail, and the circles under her eyes told stories of sleepless nights and unpaid bills. Ever since her husband died in a construction accident 2 years ago, she'd been raising her 6-year-old son, Tyler, on her own. She worked double shifts, sometimes even triple, just to keep food on the table and the lights from going out. That night, it was almost closing time when the door creaked open. In stepped a tall, rugged man in his late 50s, soaked from head to toe. His jeans were faded, his boots muddy, and his flannel shirt clung to him from the rain. He carried with him the unmistakable scent of diesel, rubber, and long roads, the scent of a trucker. He sat at the corner booth, the one farthest from the door, and nodded quietly at Emily. "Coffee, please. Black. And maybe a burger if it's not too late." Emily smiled gently. "We don't close for another hour. You're just in time." As she poured the coffee, she glanced at the man's hands, rough, calloused, with small grease stains that no amount of scrubbing could remove. The kind of hands that worked hard, every day. They didn't talk much. He ate quietly, thanked her politely, and once he was done, he reached into his coat pocket and began placing quarters onto the check. Emily blinked in surprise as the small silver coins clinked onto the counter. Quarter after quarter. She hesitated. There were at least $9 worth of quarters there. Maybe more. The trucker seemed to notice her puzzled look. "Sorry," he said, "it's all I got this week. Time's been tough, didn't mean to offend." Emily quickly shook her head. "Not at all, sir. $1's a dollar." She smiled, collecting the coins into a napkin. As he got up to leave, he paused for a second. "You got kind eyes. Thank you for not judging." And just like that, he disappeared into the rain. Later that night, Emily sat in the break room, counting tips. Among the usual singles and a few crumpled fives, she found the napkin of quarters. She could have just tossed it into the jar, but something about it felt different. Maybe it was the sincerity in his eyes. Or the exhaustion she recognized, the kind that mirrored her own. "God," she whispered, "I hope he makes it through the storm." She tucked the napkin into her apron and went home to her sleeping son. Over the next few days, life continued its routine drag. Tyler caught a cold, the landlord left another late notice on her door, and Emily missed her second job interview because her car wouldn't start. But every night, she remembered the trucker. She didn't know why. Maybe it was because she saw in him the same struggle she carried every day. She wondered where he was now. Still driving through storms. Still paying for meals and quarters. 7 days later, on a rare sunny morning, Emily walked into the diner early. The morning shift waitress had called out, and Emily decided to cover for her. The place was nearly empty except for a few early truckers and the smell of cinnamon pancakes. As she sipped her coffee, flipping through the local newspaper that someone had left behind, something caught her eye. It was a full-page ad. Right there on page 6. "To the kind waitress at Maggie's diner who took my quarters and gave me dignity, thank you. You reminded me that there's still decency in the world. I've been on the road for 30 years, and I've seen a lot, but you saw me. Not the dirt, not the quarters, not the fatigue, but me. I've recently come into some fortune I never expected. And I've decided to pay it forward. I'm looking for you. If you read this, please come to the address below. Just a trucker named Hank." Her hand trembled as she set the paper down. The address was a small trucking company 2 towns over. It took Emily a day to find a ride, and another to gather the courage. With Tyler in tow, she finally made it to the address. The place wasn't fancy, a large warehouse-style office with trucks parked outside and a small wooden sign that read, Blue Trail Logistics. As she walked in, a familiar voice called out. "Well, I'll be." There he was, Hank. Clean-shaven, in a new flannel shirt, smiling like someone who had just come back from the edge. "I was hoping you'd come." Emily smiled, still confused. "I saw the ad. But I don't understand." He motioned for her to sit. Short version, a month ago, I was just another broke trucker with engine trouble and overdue taxes. That night I met you, I'd just been told the bank would be seizing my rig. I was broke. Barely had gas to get to the next town. But that same night, I got a call. My estranged brother had passed. We hadn't spoken in years. Turns out, he left me everything. A trucking company. A house. Land. Emily gasped. I didn't earn it. But that night, when you took my quarters and still treated me like a man, I realized I'd been given a second chance, not just with money, but with people. He looked at her gently. And now, I want to give you a second chance too. Hank took out a folder from his desk and handed it to her. Inside was a job offer, not as a waitress, but as the administrative manager for the trucking company. Full benefits. Decent salary. Flexible hours to care for Tyler. I know you don't have a degree, he said. But you've got grit. And I need someone I can trust. Emily couldn't speak. Her eyes welled up with tears as Tyler hugged her leg, unaware of how their world had just shifted. Why me? She whispered. Because you gave without expecting anything back. That kind of kindness changes lives. A year later, Maggie's diner still served hot coffee and pancakes, but now, a picture hung near the cash register, a smiling woman holding a little boy, standing beside a tall trucker in front of a building with a new sign. Tyler and Hank Logistics, delivering more than just freight. Sometimes, life doesn't need loud miracles. Just a napkin full of quarters. A moment of dignity. And a heart willing to see someone's soul beneath the grime of a hard life. And that changes everything. Certainly. Here's a beautiful, long, heartfelt life lesson based on your story. A trucker paid in quarters. 7 days later, the waitress saw a newspaper ad that left her speechless, written in a reflective, emotional tone that touches the soul. We live in a world that often measures worth by wealth, status, or polished appearances. But every now and then, a quiet moment between strangers reminds us that the most valuable things in life can't be stored in a bank account, they're stored in the heart. This story isn't just about a trucker who paid in quarters or a waitress who accepted them. It's about the invisible battles people face and the unexpected power of compassion. The trucker, Hank, was weary, not just from the road, but from life. Every mile he drove carried the weight of unpaid bills, regrets, and isolation. He walked into that diner with more than wet boots, he walked in carrying the shame of feeling invisible and broken. But in that corner booth, he found something money can't buy, dignity. Emily didn't see a poor man. She saw a human being. She didn't scoff at his handful of quarters. She didn't roll her eyes or dismiss him. She smiled. She served him with warmth. And in doing so, she gave him something that so many are desperately longing for. To be seen, to be valued, to be treated with respect. We often underestimate the impact of a single act of kindness. But what we give, especially when we give from our own place of struggle, ripples outward in ways we may never fully understand. Emily was no stranger to hardship. Her life was a daily balancing act, raising a child alone, stretching pennies into meals, fighting to keep hope alive while the world moved on indifferently. Yet even in her own storm, she found the strength to be kind to someone else in theirs.